Few voices in popular music have been as admired, versatile, and influential as Linda Ronstadt's. From country rock and folk to opera, traditional Mexican music, and the Great American Songbook, Ronstadt built a career that defied categories. She sold millions of records, filled arenas, and became one of the defining artists of her generation. Yet despite her reputation for professionalism and musical excellence, Ronstadt was never afraid to speak her mind. Throughout her career, she worked with some of the biggest names in music. Many became close friends and trusted collaborators. Others became sources of disappointment, frustration, or conflict. To be clear, Linda Ronstadt has never published an official list of 7 musicians she hated. In fact, she has generally avoided personal attacks and public feuds. But over the years, interviews, biographies, and first-hand accounts have revealed several relationships that became strained, difficult, or openly critical. These stories are not about hatred. They are about artistic clashes, wounded trust, conflicting values, and the pressures of life in the music industry. They reveal a side of Ronstadt's journey that is far more human than the polished image fans often saw on stage. One of the most public disagreements associated with Ronstadt involved David Crosby, a central figure in the Laurel Canyon music scene. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, Ronstadt and Crosby moved within many of the same circles. They knew many of the same musicians and shared connections throughout the California rock community. But Crosby could be outspoken, sometimes brutally so. Throughout his career, he developed a reputation for making sharp comments about fellow artists. Ronstadt, meanwhile, earned respect through relentless work, careful preparation, and a commitment to excellence in the studio. As the years passed, their views on music and professionalism often seemed to diverge. Ronstadt represented a new model of commercial success that combined artistic integrity with broad public appeal. Crosby sometimes criticized what he viewed as excessive commercialism within the music business. While there is never a famous public showdown between the two, their relationship reflected a broader tension that existed throughout the industry. Ronstadt focused on discipline, consistency, and evolution. Crosby often embraced spontaneity and rebellion. Their differences became symbolic of two competing visions of what rock music should be. For Ronstadt, respect mattered. When criticism crossed the line from artistic disagreement into personal dismissal, she rarely responded publicly. Instead, she simply moved forward and let her work speak for itself. Neil Young and Linda Ronstadt were both major figures in the 1970s music scene, yet they approached music from very different directions. Young built his reputation as a fiercely independent songwriter whose work often carried political and social themes. Ronstadt became one of the most successful interpreters of songs written by others, bringing extraordinary emotional depth to material from a wide range of writers. Although they shared overlapping audiences and mutual respect for many fans, they represented different philosophies. Young often celebrated rawness and imperfection. Ronstadt pursued precision, vocal excellence, and meticulous arrangements. Over the years, comments from various musicians and observers occasionally suggested tension between artists who viewed commercial success differently. Ronstadt became one of the most successful female recording artists in history. That success sometimes attracted criticism from musicians who believed mainstream popularity came at the expense of artistic credibility. Ronstadt rejected that idea completely. She believed great music could reach large audiences without sacrificing quality. Her career became evidence of that belief. Rather than choosing between artistry and popularity, she pursued both. Whether or not any specific disagreement with Young was personal, their contrasting philosophies highlight an important reality. Some of the biggest conflicts in music are not about personalities at all. They are about fundamentally different ideas of what success means. Frank Zappa was one of the most unconventional musicians of his era. Brilliant, demanding, and fiercely independent, he challenged nearly every rule of popular music. Linda Ronstadt admired creativity and experimentation, but she also valued collaboration. That difference in approach created a sharp contrast between the two artists. Zappa's working style was famously intense. Musicians who joined his projects often described an environment that demanded absolute commitment to his vision. Ronstadt, by contrast, thrived in settings where musicians could exchange ideas and build something together. Although stories about direct interactions between the two have often been exaggerated over time, the broader contrast remains fascinating. Zappa represented an artist who controlled every aspect of his musical world. Ronstadt represented an artist who excelled at bringing together great writers, producers, and performers. Their careers moved in very different directions. Zappa became a symbol of radical experimentation. Ronstadt became a symbol of versatility and emotional connection. The lesson from their relationship is not that one approach was better than the other. It is that even extraordinary talent cannot overcome incompatible creative personalities. The Eagles and the question of recognition. Few stories in rock history are more remarkable than Linda Ronstadt's connection to the formation of the Eagles. Before the Eagles became one of the most successful bands of all time, Glenn Frey and Don Henley performed in Ronstadt's backing band. Ronstadt's touring organization provided opportunities that helped launch their careers. Music historians widely acknowledge her role in giving future Eagles members an important early platform. Ronstadt never claimed ownership of the band's success. In fact, she consistently supported talented musicians who later became stars in their own right. Still, many fans have noticed that her role in the Eagles' origin story often receives less attention than it deserves. While Frey and Henley went on to build an enormously successful group, Ronstadt's contribution sometimes faded into the background of popular retellings. This was not necessarily the result of hostility, yet it illustrates a recurring challenge faced by many women in music history. Their influence is sometimes overlooked even when it plays a crucial role in shaping future success stories. Ronstadt rarely complained about receiving insufficient credit. Nevertheless, the historical record increasingly recognizes how important she was to the development of the Southern California sound that dominated the 1970s. J.D. Souther and the challenges of personal relationships. Unlike some of the other names on this list, J.D. Souther was not a rival or critic. He was one of the most important people in Ronstadt's life. The two were romantically involved during the early years of their careers. Souther was an accomplished songwriter whose work helped define the California country rock movement. Ronstadt recorded several songs associated with him and his circle. Yet, personal relationships within the music industry can be extraordinarily complicated. Careers, schedules, ambitions, and public attention place enormous pressure on even the strongest partnerships. Ronstadt later spoke openly about the difficulties of maintaining romantic relationships while pursuing a demanding career. Success brought opportunities, but it also brought sacrifices. Although Ronstadt and Souther remained connected through music, their relationship serves as a reminder that some of the deepest disappointments in life do not come from enemies. They come from people we once loved. The emotional complexity of that experience influenced Ronstadt's music for years afterward. Many of her most powerful performances drew from real experiences of love, loss, and personal growth. The industry gatekeepers. This entry is not a single musician, but rather a category of people Ronstadt challenged throughout her career. When Ronstadt emerged as a major star, the music industry remained heavily dominated by men. Female artists were often expected to fit narrow roles and follow decisions made by executives, producers, or male bandleaders. Ronstadt refused. She insisted on choosing her own material. She pushed for creative control. She took risks that many industry experts considered dangerous. At various points, she shifted from rock to operetta, from American standards to traditional Mexican music. Each move generated skepticism. Some musicians and executives questioned her choices. Others predicted failure. Yet time after time, Ronstadt proved them wrong. Perhaps the most important conflict in her career was not with a particular artist, but with an industry culture that underestimated her intelligence and ambition. She demonstrated that a female performer could be commercially successful, artistically adventurous, and completely in charge of her own career. That achievement changed opportunities for countless artists who followed. Number 1. The myth of competition between women. The final entry may be the most revealing of all. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, the media frequently attempted to create rivalries between successful female artists. Reporters constantly asked women to compare themselves to one another. They searched for feuds, jealousies, and conflicts. Linda Ronstadt often rejected these narratives. Whether discussing Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris, Bonnie Raitt, or other major performers, she repeatedly emphasized respect rather than rivalry. In many cases, she collaborated with artists whom the media tried to portray as competitors. One of the greatest examples was the celebrated trio project with Dolly Parton and Emmylou Harris. Instead of competing, the three women created one of the most beloved collaborative albums in country music history. Ronstadt understood something that many observers missed. Music is not a zero-sum game. One artist's success does not require another artist's failure. That perspective allowed her to build lasting relationships throughout her career while maintaining her independence. Conclusion. At 78, Linda Ronstadt's legacy is not defined by people she hated. In fact, the opposite may be true. What makes her story remarkable is how rarely she allowed conflict to become the center of her narrative. She encountered criticism, disappointment, and difficult personalities. She experienced professional tensions and personal heartbreak. She watched others receive credit for contributions she helped make possible. She faced an industry that often underestimated her. Yet she never built her reputation on feuds. Instead, she built it on music. Her voice became one of the most celebrated instruments of the 20th century. Her willingness to cross genres expanded the boundaries of popular music. Her determination inspired generations of artists, particularly women seeking greater creative freedom. The real story is not about 7 musicians Linda Ronstadt hated. It is about an artist who refused to let conflict define her. While others argued, she sang. While others chased trends, she evolved. And while others became trapped by their own myths, Linda Ronstadt continued building a legacy that remains influential decades later. That legacy is ultimately stronger than any rivalry, disagreement, or controversy. It is the legacy of an artist who earned respect not through drama, but through extraordinary talent, relentless dedication, and the courage to follow her own path.